Another week, another win. But that gap is closing. This was the first game this team has played that was won by only single digits. And now they only have a 12-point lead in the points for category. Kareem's historic pace will come back down to earth soon, and so will this team. Maybe last week was an overreaction on my part when I dropped this team from 2nd to 8th in the power rankings. Well, here they are, back at number 2. Zeke showed that it was more about Denver's D last week and not about him losing fantasy power, and Jordy Nelson made everyone forget he was questionable going into the week. Not to mention, Stephon Diggs was .1 away from tying for the highest scorer of the week with fucking Case Keenum at quarterback. Coming off the highest score of the year so far with 142 points, this squad looks primed to keep rolling. Very quietly, this team keeps putting up good weeks and getting W's. Like I said last week, this team is one Jordan Howard injury away from still being undefeated. The only concern here is the Panthers' D. They played their first respectable offense of the year and put up negative points. They're unlikely to recover against New England next week. Some fans of this team have been Facebook messaging me, demanding them to enter the top 3. While they are the 3rd highest scorer through 3 weeks, I need to see one more good week out of them to get enough trust to enter the next tier of the rankings. The tight end position is still a question mark, and the 2nd round pick just got completely shut down by the Jets. I'm a Jets fan, and even I'll say 11 rushes for 16 yards is embarrassing. Maybe that blame is more on the Dolphins than just Ajayi, but either way, holy shit, that's an issue. This group grinded out a hard-fought win and put their best total of the year. The only problem is there's nowhere to move them. Putting them above the top 3 teams wasn't ever considered an option, and the 4th-ranked team has been more consistent so far. While this group looked like absolute garbage last week and was the 2nd lowest scorer of the week, I'm not ready to move them up yet. It's going to be a depressing week for this fan base. Going into the most hyped matchup since this organization was created, these fans had dreams of rising to the top of the ICPA summit in just 3 weeks. Down just 9.5 going into the Monday night game, it seemed like this team's dream would soon become a reality. It rolled out all-reliable Mr. Jason Witten himself, the highest scoring tight end in all of fantasy football up to that point. And he shat the bed. Immediately half the fan base hung themselves, while the others shattered their TV and pledged to never watch the ICPA again. You've got a long way to climb if you want to get back up this mountain, son. After watching Odell catch his 2nd touchdown of the game, you could hear shockwaves around the ICPA as owners realized this team is a force. Sadly, Philip Rivers ran into his kryptonite, the Kansas City Chiefs, who have had his number his entire career. Luckily, Rivers doesn't play the Chiefs for another 12 weeks. And while they might have lost, please tell me where this team's weakness is. You know what? Actually, I'll say it. It's a running back 2 position. But that's it. There's really no weakness anywhere else. The Ravens are still a respectable D as long as they play inside America. So don't say them. And this squad is the highest scoring team over the past 2 weeks. There's plenty of confidence for this group moving forward, going into a matchup with a top-ranked team. Last week, I warned this team how slim the margin was until it would fall off, and it showed it doesn't like the pressure. The defending champs were finally knocked off, and now we can look at them with a new set of eyes and see what they really are. A flaming sketchball. Big Ben is leading a Steelers offense that still can't get rolling. Amari Cooper has forgotten how to catch the ball, and Devontae Parker's 17-point week was a product of the Jets agreeing to leave him completely unguarded on the entire final drive of the game, which Cutler, and I don't like him, but I'll give him credit, he quickly figured this out and threw to Devontae Parker every play for the entire garbage time drive. And I'm not done. T.Y. doesn't get to play the Browns again, and Jordan Reed is going to be a nightmare the rest of the season. I'm very worried for this team's future. It's never good when one of your starters puts up the same amount of points as one of your bench players that's on the IR. This group had the highest scoring player of the week with Tom Brady, 37.6 points, yet somehow managed to be the lowest scoring team of the week. We rarely ever see a team accomplish this feat. Props for that. Le'Veon finally produced, but still doesn't look quite comfortable. I'll let that slide since he isn't used to playing the first few weeks of the season, since he likes to set that time aside for his annual suspension vacation. But the rest of the team has no excuses. Dez just isn't a fantasy wide receiver one anymore, and it's time to give up on Eric Ebron. I do not like this team. Mexico City was devastated by an earthquake last week. Most thought it was due to tectonic plate shifting, but finally, the true cause of the earthquake was discovered. It was caused by the roar of this fan base when this team finally won and climbed out of the power rankings cellar. The 102.7 outing was the highest of the season as a deadly trio of Alvin Kamara, Samaje Perine, and Ryan Suckup were sick of losing and put this team on their back and carried them to victory. Next step is being a team with wins already on their resume. Let's see if they can do that next week. This fan base is getting extremely worried. Coming off a 4-9 year, this team seemed confident they would turn around and make a run at the playoffs. Now, they're concerned they won't even match last year's win total. Joe Mixon being given the starting job should help, but as shown earlier this year, riding the back of a guy that smashes women's faces in will return his fair share of karma. Mike Gillislee begged and begged, showing his talent by rolling into the end zone 4 times in the first 2 weeks. Finally, this owner decided to put Mike in the starting lineup, but it was too late, and Gillislee was pissed off at that point and put up a measly 3.1 points. That same anger was felt by DeMarco Murray as he showed the front office you don't sit your second-round pick, as he almost led his team in points by scoring 22.5 on the bench. Also, will this team ever figure out the Hunter Henry debacle? Both times he started, he put up a goose egg, and the one time he was benched, he was in double digits. It seems like the players have all agreed to go on strike until a change in the front office is made.